Zoo Parade, presented each week at this time from the world-famous Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, where today we're in the Reptile House to find out the answer to a very fundamental question. Hi there, this is Jim Herbert, and welcome to our 182nd Zoo Parade program. You may have noticed that our opening was just a little bit different. Starting this week, the Quaker Oats Company is sponsoring a Zoo Parade every other week. So they'll be on next week and every other week thereafter. And now for that very fundamental question. What is a reptile? Well, for the answer to that question and a lot of other questions, too, here's Marlin Perkins, director of the Lincoln Park Zoo.
Hello there. I'm glad you could join us again today. Well, Jim, for the answer to that question, I have some friends here that are going to help me in explaining what is a reptile. But first, I'd like to show you what the answer is. It's a vertebrate, it's cold-blooded, it's without gills in any stage of its development, it is with scales, and it has a three-chambered heart. If it has all of those, and if all of those apply, well, then it is a reptile. Jim, hold this bullfrog for me just a minute, will you?
Right.
I can put him right down. Well, get him up close here so that he won't kick, you see. If you hold him right, but hold his legs together, he can't kick.
Can't get any leverage.
Yeah, can't kick out of your hand then. Now, here's a representative of a mammal. And why is he a mammal? Why isn't he a reptile? This is a little possum. And you notice he has a backbone here. Well, you can't see that. I can feel that right down his back like all mammals have. Let me show you what I mean by a backbone in this fellow here, this snake. We have a snake skeleton right here at on the table top here. And right down that whole length of that fellow, you'll see the backbone, which is the vertebrae. And then you see all the ribs, and where those ribs end down at the back side there, that's the end of the body, and from there on it's tail. Yeah, right where your finger is, Jim.
Down there.
Uh-huh. And so all animals with a vertebrae like that, or a backbone, are, well, they're not all reptiles, but this fellow, a reptile does have a backbone, and so does this little possum here. But the possum has hair, and he also has a four-chambered heart instead of a three-chambered heart, and he has a temperature, and where the reptiles don't have any temperature at all. And so those features are different from a reptile, and he doesn't have those other things, so Mr. Possum is a mammal. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put Mr. Possum here. Eddie, would you like to come in here and take Mr. Possum by the tail and put him away? Possums, you know, hang by their tails, so it's perfectly all right, Jim, to do that. And I want to go over and show you another one, a bird, a representative of the bird family, right over here. And that is this chicken, which is a silky bantam, who is tame and yet tough. You see, he pecks a little bit here. Come on over in the center of the cage, here out of the sight. Well, now, no, not so rough. That's all right, not so rough. That's a good kid. Mr. Rooster here is like all birds. He has a backbone. No, don't peck so hard. That's all right. don't be so rough. Oh, don't be so rough about it. Okay, you want to just show me that you're the boss here. Well, I guess you are at that. I'm going to keep my hands away from you. And he has a backbone, and and though he has scales on his feet and legs, he has feathers all over his body. And another reason why he's not a reptile is the fact that he has a temperature. He has a nice warm temperature. And all of those features, the fact that he has feathers instead of scales on his body, makes him a bird rather than a member of the reptile family. He's a tough mutt. He pecks a little on your hand. Jim, let me just borrow this bullfrog for a minute.
He's been very quiet.
And he's quiet because you're holding him properly, and you can see now something about his backbone there, although that's where he's going to jump from. You see when he jumps, and his backbone's up in front of that. So he is similar to a reptile, but this is an amphibian. And he has the backbone, and he's cold-blooded, but as every boy knows, a tadpole has gills, and frogs and salamanders all come from tadpoles, or tadpole-like creatures, so that he has those gills at one stage of his development, and he also, instead of scales, has skin on his body instead of those scales. Jim, do you want to take him back now and hold him while I go over to this creature over here and see why he is not a reptile? This is an old friend of yours, Mr. Tarantula.
Oh.
A spider, member of a spider family. Now, you want to move just a little bit to show us that you're really a nice live spider here. And now let's see on the card why he is not a reptile. This fellow here doesn't have a backbone. So that one fact alone throws the spider clear out. He has his skeleton on the outside of his body. And so, with a skeleton on the outside of his body, he doesn't have a vertebral column or a backbone, and so that one fact alone, we don't even have to look at the rest of them because we know that he is not that. Well, let's see what is a reptile then. Jim, you're holding one.
Well, he's acting like a reptile.
Yeah, let's put him over here. Here's a fellow that is a member of the reptile family. This is a turtle who is getting no place fast. This is a Bell's turtle, or painted turtle, that is native to eastern North America. They're found right around here, and so he has a backbone that is fused to his shell here, and he has scales on his feet and on his neck, and he's cold-blooded, and he has a three-chambered heart, and so he is one of the reptiles. Then all turtles, whether they're land turtles or water turtles, are members of the reptile family. And Jim, let's bring that next fellow along here as another representative of a reptile. And this is a baby alligator who has scales and a backbone and a three-chambered heart, and he's cold-blooded and has all of those features that make him fall into the class Reptilia. And so he and the other members of that class, which are crocodiles and gavials and caimans, are all reptiles. And you have another one, Jim.
I think this fellow's a blue-tongued skink because his tongue is blue. I think that's...
Well, you're all right, Jim. That's fine. He is a blue-tongued skink, and he's our representative of the lizard family. Here, fellas, just sit still here now. No, don't walk away, because you'll probably go right out and fall over on the edge. This is a reptile because he has scales and all of these other features that we've been talking about. And so all lizards, whether he is a big one or a little one, whether he climbs trees or burrows under the ground, if he is a lizard, then of course he must be a reptile, and has all these scales and the cold-bloodedness or the variable temperature, which it really should be. And Jim, my goodness, Jim, you're getting brave.
I'm not getting
all
brave.
These things here.
He's not doing what he's supposed to do. It's the ball python, and he's not balling up.
Well, he will ball up if he gets too excited and curl up into one unit. Well, he is also a member of the reptile family, as are all snakes, with a backbone, and they have lungs instead of gills, and scales, variable temperature. And so all of those features that the snake has them, and so all of these creatures you're looking at in this picture are members of the reptile family. And if you'll just move these over there on the other side, Jim, and hand them over, I want to go back behind here because I want to show you what some of the other reptiles are back here.
Will you fellas take one of these? Thank you. Yeah, I'll give them all to you, as a matter of fact. Nothing like getting rid of a handful of reptiles. Wait a minute. Come on, John, will you take this one, too? Now, Marlin leaves some strange things for me to do, but he does leave me time to apologize for something that we left off the show last week. In our songs and stories for children. You know, we had the song, The Gray Goose, and what we forgot to tell you was that it comes from a collection of songs called Songs to Grow On by Beatrice Landeck, with illustrations by David Stone Martin. It's published by Edward B. Marks, and it's a fine collection of songs, and we are sorry that we left it out because it is a fine collection. Now let's go over and see if we can find Marlin over in one of those cages over there.
Jim, here I am in the back of the cage of the alligator snapping turtle, who is the largest freshwater turtle in North America. Isn't he a dandy? You like him, Jim? Well, I do. By gum, I think he's one of the finest exhibits we have in our building because he is a big turtle. He probably weighs in the neighborhood of 140 pounds. And he has cutting jaws in his mouth that are capable of cutting right through a stick or the size of a broomstick.
You mean if you put your hand in there, Marlin, he could bite right through your hand?
I wouldn't take a chance on that one, Jim.
Oh, boy.
No. Isn't he a dandy? You like him?
Oh, it's quite a view from out here in front to see his face.
Well, and then you see all those warty growths. He's certainly a reptile with the scales around his head that you can see there so plainly. And he does live in the southern part of the United States, primarily in the Mississippi River Valley.
Does a big fellow like this, is he born from an egg, Marlin?
Yeah, he hatches from an egg about like a ping pong ball. And he doesn't... now, I'll tell you, let me move over to the next cage here, and we'll talk about the way they hatch and move around. And here's a whole flock of little guys in here that are diamondback terrapins. And they're from the Delta region down below New Orleans in the Mississippi River region. And
why are they called diamondbacks?
Well, Jim, they have a kind of a diamond facet look to all those plates on the back of their shell. You see the ridges in those things that look like like facets in the cut of a diamond. And then there's you see they have a little black mustache.
Oh,
there.
yeah, they have, haven't they? Right on each side of their mouth.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. There's a diamond on top of their head. Is that a diamond shape on the top of his head there?
Well,
I can't see it now.
Jim, I never noticed that before. By gum, they do have a diamond on the top of their head. Well, maybe that's part of the reason why they call them diamondbacks, too. But these are the food turtles. You know, you've undoubtedly eaten terrapin a la Maryland.
Sure.
Yeah, these are the turtles, members of the diamondback turtle family that are some of the best eating turtles of all of them. But I'll tell you what, let's don't spend too much time on those. Let's go on to the next exhibit back here. As we move along here, you're going to see a number of very interesting reptiles. Here's another member of the turtle family here.
Where?
Right down in the bottom. Oh, now, let me take a long pointer here. I'm sure I can show you some things about this.
That's a rock down there, isn't it, Marlin?
No, there are two turtles here, Jim.
Really?
Yeah, they're mata turtles. Now, let's see if I can move one of these fellows here. Come on over here. Here's one here, and I'm going to try to turn him around so you can see his face and his head and that long snout on his...
Oh, that thing looks like a rhinoceros's tusk out there in the end.
Well, he's the snorkel turtle, you know. He comes to the surface for air and breathes with just through that little tip of the nostril right here. Can you see that thing?
Sure, we can see it quite clearly from out here.
I'm touching that right there.
Is that his eye right behind there?
Yeah, then here's his eye right here, right behind that.
Way down there?
On the side, sort of. Then you see there's a rock-like or leaf-like bulge here, all the way around on both sides, and all these little filaments of skin, which have scales too, all along the neck here, and on that side, and then the ridges on the top of his back are, well, like that alligator snapper ridges, you know, and that's where he gets his name.
Do they ever get fat, Marlon? Do these creatures ever get too fat for their shells?
Oh, it happens once in a while. We have some turtles that get so fat they can't pull their heads in again. We overfeed them here, you see, well, then that happens. But I'll tell you, let's move along and look at some of the rest of the exhibits in this very interesting building and see these reptiles in here, because here, for example, is an anaconda that is growing very rapidly. Now, I'm not sure you're going to see. He's a member of the boa family. He's an aquatic boa. And his head's right at the front there, Jim. Can you see? It's right at the water line.
Where? Right
up. Let me see if I can point it out to you. Here. It's facing in your
direction.
I
can see it.
Right here. Way
right
down
out at us, yeah.
Come on, put your head up again. Come on, put your head right up. That's it, right there.
What are those little things that come out? They look like, the tips of his tongue?
That's the tongue he's coming out.
He has a split tongue, does he?
He's touching the glass with the tips of his tongue, and that's a sensory organ. He gets odor. You see, he's ticklish, too. Did you see him jump then?
I sure did.
Well, that's to push
too.
this stick back out of the way. He's ticklish. That's why he did that. But he's not fully grown, Jim. He gets to be much bigger than this, and yet you can see how big his body is here. It's as big as the thigh of a man's leg.
I want to ask a question, Marlin. As big as his body is it still look like that smaller skeleton that we saw on the table here?
Yes,
skeleton?
Jim, that's right. There's a backbone that runs the full length of this fellow, just like that skeleton that we saw there, and he's resting on the tips of his ribs here now.
And no ribs on his tail, though.
No ribs on the tail section.
Mm.
But I'd like to move along, Jim, and take a look at another cage here and some more reptiles. Here, for example, are some tegu lizards. Let me see if I can sort of reach in the cage. See, this building was designed as an aquarium, and here's an old aquarium cage that is deep, and yet there's no water in it, except a little water pan that we put in here. And here are some tegu lizards from South America. Let me see if I can move this fellow around a little bit. You see a little piece of skin here, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you this little piece of skin right here.
Well, he's shedding
one
his
of them
skin.
is shedding, and this fellow right in front, as a matter of fact, has been shedding.
Well, I'd like to ask a question about that shedding, Marlon, if you don't mind. I noticed last week that one of the snakes was shedding, and now these fellows are shedding. Do they shed all of their skin? I mean, is that the kind of skin you use to make shoes out of and things like that? Or
Jim, no. You've been sunburned, haven't you?
I sure have.
When it peeled afterwards? Well, that's what happens here. It's just the outer layer of skin. Now, here you can see there's some coming off of this fellow. They're on the wrong side. I don't suppose you can see that. Let me pull this fellow back a little bit so that we can maybe show this to you. These are perfectly gentle to handle, but it's so far to get down into the cage. Here's some of that skin right there, you can see. And that's like the skin that peels off your shoulders and back when you're sunburned, you know. It's just the outer layer of skin, not the full depth of skin. When they make leather from these lizards, as they do from South America, then they have to kill the animal and skin it and get all thicknesses of the skin for making the leather. Well, let's leave the lizards as a representative of our reptile family for the time being and go over and look at the water snakes. These are non-poisonous water snakes that are found in the southern part of the United States. And let me see now if I can get some of them started right here. Here's a diamondback, and here's a yellow-bellied water snake.
Diamondback, that's a non-poisonous.
Diamondback water snake, not a diamondback rattler.
Oh, good.
Here's a rare one, Jim, this one here. That's a Harter's water snake. He comes from Texas, only one or two little creeks in Texas. And he's going way down on the bottom now, and that's where snakes do go when they fall off of limbs. We put these limbs in here.
What's that one? The one that's going right across
That's a yellow-bellied water snake.
Oh, he's getting out of sight over on the side of the cage again.
Mm-hmm. Now, there comes a common water snake following after him.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. They swim with their heads out of the water that way sometimes.
Yeah, they can, or they can swim with their heads under the water if they want to. And you see we have this thing in here so they can lie up on top like they do in the wild state, up on top of a thing like this. And then when danger threatens, they just fall right off and bingo, they're under the water.
When you say they're up on top, we were actually looking at that water snake still going down below.
Oh, I mean up on top of this log here, up where my stick is, you see, from way over
there.
here.
Yeah, now I see.
Yeah.
Now he's gone back down again. We're following him around. He's such a great...
See how fast these things are, Jim, that fellow going back and forth there,
boy.
though. They swim they go faster here than most of the land snakes can on the surface.
I was going to ask that, but they travel in just about the same way, sort of, don't they, the land snakes do?
Very similar. Same kind of general action. Well, Jim, I'm going to move over to another kind of reptile now, here, which is not another kind of reptile, actually, but just a bigger one. Here's a snake, and I have to have a long pole for this one. Let's see if I can get a...
I'd have to have about 11-foot pole.
Because I'm way back to back end of this. This is a reticulated python. And if I can get a hold of him... Oh, I got a strain. Pull up here. Yeah. Come on, fella.
Well, that's Marlin, isn't that the one that you used to wrap around your arm?
Yeah, it certainly is, Jim, but look how he's grown.
Oh, boy, I should say
I don't want him around my arm anymore. He's way, way too big now. And when we first got him, he was about 6 feet long, and I think now I haven't measured him, but he looks like he's about 9 or 10, and he's growing like the mischief. Can you see the tongue, or shall I turn his head around?
Yeah, I can see it, and I wanted to ask that. Is the tongue that goes out like that, is that a sign of a reptile or a characteristic of a reptile?
No, but he has all the characteristics of a reptile, the snake has. The tongue is a sensory organ, and he's picking up odor on the tips of that. And then he puts it in these nostrils on the inside of his body and touches this Jacobson's organ.
Oh,
and that conveys the odor directly up to those organs of smell, which are up in his nostrils, which can be reached by his tongue from the inside of his mouth.
He smells his tongue then, secondhand sort
Well,
of.
and then he touches things, you see,
Oh.
with his tongue, like things of this nature. And then he'd get the odor directly from that, you see, and take it right into his mouth. And it's a sensory organ. He feels with it.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh. Now I want to show you another kind of a reptile, a broad-nosed crocodile. And the broad-nosed crocodile is from West Africa. And this one's full-grown. He doesn't get any bigger than this. And I want to move him back if I can, and turn him around if I can, and let you have a chance to see some features of him. Come on, fella. He's another reptile, you see, with the backbone. And that's right. Turn around. Come on. Turn around here. Not going to hurt him. I just want to tickle him a little bit on the side. Maybe you can hear him blowing here. He hisses. Now you can see his face, perhaps. And we feed him like this, you know. Notice these big eyes, Jim. Can you see those from where you are?
I sure can.
Is
You
he in the
can
right
see his eyes
position?
and his big teeth, too,
Yeah,
while
he's
you're
got
talking
great-
about it.
I should say so. Well, I just touched him on the eye like that. See him?
Yeah, he had a
Goes right
fast
down. See where it
reaction.
goes to?
He closed it right up and pulled it back in, so
Uh-huh. Yeah.
it's good protection, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If he bumps something, why, there's some give there.
That's the way he sits a lot of time, isn't it, Marlin? Just the top of his head out of the water like that so he can look around and see what's going on.
Yeah, and you see where the nostrils are here.
Mm-hmm.
You see, they're right up here at the front, right at this little bump, which is above waterline.
Yeah.
And then the eyes are above waterline. And if I can turn him around, you can see a little rectangular thing right behind his eye, which is the ear, which has a valve on it.
I can't see that so well, Marlin.
Well, maybe you
it's
can't
fixed
see
there.
that now. But there is an ear. It's hard to see even when I'm looking at it.
Is it?
Yeah. Someday I'll lift one of those up for you when I have a hold of one of these and show you exactly how it goes. But this fellow has all of those attributes that we were talking about, so he is another representative of the reptiles. And he's a crocodile, a broad-nosed crocodile. And in the very next cage, Jim, we have a series of things here. Here's, let me move some of these around for you. The only two poisonous lizards in the world is the Mexican beaded lizard, and that's this fellow here.
And the Gila monster, right?
And the Gila monster,
I
yeah.
remembered it.
Uh-huh.
Which, that's the Mexican beaded that you've got up
Yeah.
on top there.
Yeah, but he's so heavy, my goodness. He takes... Oh, that's the boy. Now, let me get my stick out. And then here is a Gila monster coming out of this little thing here.
He's not as big as the Mexican beaded lizard,
let me
is
see
he?
if I can put another Gila monster alongside of him. Hang on here, kid. Now, you get like that, and you turn around and face that way. But I don't see any of the snakes. There's some snakes in here. Oh, heck. I'll bet they're hiding. Let me see if they're under here, Jim. They pull this little house over. We have some
Holy mackerel.
racers in here. Gila monster, and here's some coach whips.
Look
Come
at
on,
a
kid.
full
Come on
house.
out. Yeah, coach whip snakes. See, they live with the Gila monsters.
Why do they get along so well together? They just, they're not natural enemies, therefore they tolerate each other, is that
Yeah,
it?
they're not enemies at all, and there's nothing that the Gila monster doesn't want anything that the snake has, actually, unless he were to lay eggs.
They haven't got much,
And why these poisonous lizards should be poisonous has always baffled me, because they feed on snake eggs and lizard eggs and bird eggs that they dig up out of the ground or find in nests on the ground. And they certainly don't need their poison to get their prey. So, by gum, they're just poisonous then because, for protection reasons, I think.
I suppose, Marlin, being cold-blooded animals, they don't have as much, well, they're not as volatile as mammals are. They haven't got
Well,
as much
no,
spirit.
they're not, Jim, but I'll tell you what. You take it over from here, Jim, because I want to come down and join you out there in front.
Okay, Marlin. And I'll take the time while you're getting out there to remind our folks who were watching the Zoo Parade last year of those Animal of the Month pictures. They're pretty nice pictures, as a matter of fact. You remember we had a whole series of them, and they were for use in school classrooms. And if you lived in, if you were connected with a school activity, you remember you could write to us on your school letterhead and get copies of the Animal of the Month picture. We put your name on the list, and every month you get it. Well, we're going to do that again this year. I know you'll be glad to hear about it. All you have to do is write on your school stationery, and don't write to any place except the address, though, that I'll give you. The address is Animal of the Month, Box 8199, Chicago 77, Illinois. You know, because we have a rather limited supply of these Animal of the Month pictures, we're only able to send them to schools. Wish we could send them to everybody because they are nice pictures, but it must be just to schools. So write on your school stationery and write to that address, Animal of the Month, Box 8199, Chicago 77, Illinois.
Jim, I would like to mention that some of the pictures are going to be reptiles, too. and as well as mammals and birds, all the animals in our zoo from time to time. They're really fine pictures. But the picture I want to show you now is what we call our swamp scene, where we have all of these reptiles, turtles primarily. You see the little painted turtles there, like the ones that we had on the table here. It was making such a racket on the tabletop. And there's some truce turtles there. And there's some up on the bank. That is, we have logs in there for them to climb up on, and some of them are in the water. And like this truce turtle is just with his snoot out of the water. Well, what you're doing is actually getting a turtle's eye view of these things from here, and getting a chance to see them at the same level that you would see them if you were a turtle underwater looking at the other turtles. And that truce turtle is of, see, there's one coming down and near the front there, and he's gotten excited, something frightened him, and he goes to the bottom. And that's another one of those so-called sliders found in the South. And
why do they call them sliders?
Because when you come up on them on the bank, they slide off.
Well, I don't know, want to plop down.
Yeah, you see them go plop into the water. We have several of those sliders in there. In fact, all of these turtles are North American. That's another truce turtle there, and there's a difference between the male and the female. The female has a red mark along the side of her face. You buy those in pet stores as little tiny things, you know.
Well, you know, all of these turtles here together, they don't seem to have any rules of the road or anything. It's just go wherever you want to when they get into traffic jams and everything else. Why is that? Don't they have any system worked on?
They don't seem to care, Jim. They have hard shells and it doesn't bother them. Their sensibility isn't very keen. They even pile up on top of the log, one on top of the other, and I've seen them stacked up 5, 6 deep. And, of course, their strong shell is such that it doesn't bother them.
Looks like the little fellows get mad when they get pushed out of the way by the big ones. Or I suppose, though, in being, as I say, these cold-blooded animals are not like we are. They don't have the same reactions that mammals do. They don't get mad and excited about things. They're pretty sluggish in their reactions.
Well, you might think they're sluggish and they don't get excited, but actually some of these turtles, like the snapping turtles, why, they get just as mad as can be. Did you ever catch an old snapping turtle and have him turn around and bite himself?
No, really?
Why, he's so mean and ornery, he turns around and bite himself on the leg or on the shell.
Yeah, you'd be real ornery to bite yourself.
Oh, my, and alligators get mad and crocodiles get mad. As a matter of fact, I'd like to show you a crocodile now, this big American crocodile.
Yeah, but I remember that crocodile Marlin last week when we showed this fellow. Remember during the reading of Kipling's story, The Elephant's Child, he didn't seem to me to play his part very well. All he did was just lie there, just like he's doing now.
Yeah, certainly he's just lying there, Jim, but...
Is he really as ferocious as the stories make him out to be, then?
Well, you just wait and see. You just watch what happens when John reaches in with a stick and animates him a little bit, just tickling him in the ribs with that long stick and touching him on the back there. Well, by gum, this fellow is, you see, that's the American crocodile, and he's going right after that stick. And that's the way he would have certainly gone after that elephant's child that we were talking about.
Grabbing hold of his nose.
Grabbing right hold of his suit. And you see there, look at he pops there with his jaws. And you see the lower jaw is the one that moves, really.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, you could see that
showed that
then.
before one time. The lower jaw goes down.
The scales that are typical of a reptile, cold-blooded, backbone, no
ticklish.
gills. Yeah, he's ticklish. See, you can, he batted at the glass there, but of course this glass is about 1.5 inches thick, so there isn't much danger of Mr. Crocodile hitting that glass too hard and breaking it.
I suppose it's good for him to have a little exercise like this once in a while. It doesn't get too fat. Well, you've convinced me, Marlin, definitely, that he is ferocious when he wants to be. But tell me, what are we going to have on Zoo Parade next week?
Oh, Jim, next week we're going to have a program about the animals of India.
You're going to tell us all about their habits then and everything. That's next week on Zoo Parade. I hope you'll all be with us then. And remember that the Quaker Oats Company, too, will be with us at that time. Now, this is Jim Herbert saying goodbye for myself and for Marlin Perkins. Your technical director is Harry Mall. Zoo Parade is directed by Don Meyer, produced by Ronald Warenrath, Jr., and came to you direct from the world-famous Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago.